All right, tonight we've got Joe Roop with us. We were just on Joe's show, actually a couple of his shows. He's a radio host, Lighting the Void on Fringe FM. He's more than a radio host. He's also a very interesting dude. I'm going to let him tell us more about himself since I don't have a bio ready. Welcome, Joe.
Hey, thanks for having me, man.
But we should. I mean, I've never really, formally heard.
He's a
heard you talk
motherfucking magician.
Yeah.
I don't need a bio. I'm not some dude that's got, all these big backgrounds and a whole bunch of stuff that, you don't have to make me sound real special. I'm just your ordinary average Joe, but I like studying the esoteric and I love the paranormal and conspiracy,
I think more like Darren says, you're a magician.
Yeah, well, I don't even like that word magic, really, because it makes people think all kinds of weird stuff, but it's really just an initiation system, what a lot of us would call Western ceremonial magic, or the Western initiatic system versus the Eastern. Is really all it is. But it's been known as ceremonial magic or traditional ceremonial magic, yeah. Or some people have called it high magic versus low magic, right? So,
what's the difference between high magic and low magic?
Well, high magic is a series. It's like where you do ceremonial magic to ascend through different energetic levels to come together with your higher self, pretty much, for lack of better words. Low magic is like when you light candles or cast spells or twist stuff around your finger or, stuff like that. So you see a lot of low magic in Wicca, but you'll see a lot of high magic in Rosicrucian or Golden Dawn schools, or even what Aleister Crowley teaches.
Huh. Did you catch that there?
Yes, I know nothing about magic, so most of it went over my head. This would be, we should have done more shows on it.
Well, we will. This was just, but it takes
We had
baby
Jason
steps.
Louv on.
Baby steps, Darren. Baby steps. We gotta go a little bit at a time. You don't want to jump right into that pool.
And then RT had him on, which has me wondering. For some reason.
Didn't you guys have Gordon White on? Have you had him on yet too?
Yeah, we had him on a couple times.
We've talked about it way more than Darren realizes. But this is it's getting deeper, right? This does get deeper, which is awesome because there's so much of a overlap between sort of the new agey intention stuff as well. And, like you're talking about your higher self in there. I mean, there's a lot of parallels as well, I think.
Yeah, but there's also a lot of confusion. Right now there's a Golden Dawn Order on Facebook that's getting 150 new subscribers a day. So there's way, way more people out there practicing magic than ever before. It's it's insane.
Yeah.
And
I wanted to talk to you about that.
So is that dangerous?
I kind of think it is in a way. Yeah, I do. But I'm in the minority. See, a lot of people are getting into chaos magic, and there's a whole lot of stuff out there about Crowley and Thelema, and I'm trying to I tend to stick to the more traditional, original Golden Dawn teachings. I'm not saying they're better, but I feel like for a system that deals with people, because there's a lot of messed up people out there, and we all got jacked up psyches. This system was designed perfectly for you to deal with that. Crowley's got a fast track system, which could, in my opinion, could be dangerous. Chaos magic is just, you've heard about some of the stuff they do when they do sigils, right? We don't have to get into too big a detail about it, but it's
no, I haven't heard.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. Yeah, man, we got lots of time.
Well, what you'll hear people making sigils magically, right? That's I'm going to make this magic sigil, and I'm going to put my intention into it, and I'm going to get to gnosis. And of course, and the way they get to gnosis is they get to the orgasmic state. Doesn't matter how they do it, right? They just got to get there and charge that sigil magically and get what they want. But
it works. It works,
and it does work, right? So it works. The weird part is you got to let it go before it works, but it works. But what's happening is I don't think enough of us are actually dealing with ourselves, and that was what the Golden Dawn system was designed to do. It wasn't designed for you to be able to cast spells and write sigils and do all this stuff. You went through each elemental grade to deal with the aspects of yourself in order to become an actual adept. So there's a lot of people out there saying they're adepts, and they haven't even went through the original system that was designed to get you there, right? People like Jason Louv and I would say Gordon White, to me, are advanced. I would consider them adepts. But when you look at a magical group online and there's 100,000 people with 150 a day just jumping in this group, it's important that we understand the history of magic, what it really is, especially from a high magic standpoint of view, and how to separate everything, you know.
Is there any way we can make an app or something to harness these people's magic and use it for our own evil deeds?
Well, I don't know if they've got plenty of apps out there about magic, but I don't think they've created one like that. I mean, see, that's my point. What if I told you, Darren, I said, look, you could pretty much cast for anything you want to manifest in your life, but the most important thing is for you to discover who you really are and your higher self, or some people call the holy guardian angel, right? That's the ritual Crowley was doing when he went out there to that island. People think he was trying to invoke demons, but he did a ritual by Abramelin and the mage to unite with this holy guardian angel. It wasn't an evil thing at all, but it wasn't successful either. But if I told you, my point is, if I told you, I give you two options: discover who you really are, your magical self, your higher self, or go out there and you can get and have anything you want. What are you going to do?
Well, can I do the one till I figure out the other?
That's exactly what's going on right now. You understand what I'm saying?
I'd rather do the other one. So the Golden Dawn is more like a self-help path to magic?
Yeah, it's more like it's a complicated spiritual system of
Personal
attainment,
growth?
right? So, right, yeah. So the original Golden Dawn was a mixture of Jewish and Christian mysticism, ancient Egyptian philosophy, Indian and Chaldean texts, all together, and it's spiced up in this really awesome system, you know. But the biggest part of it is Kabbalah, and in Masonry, you know, all these Masons are doing these rituals and stuff, and they don't really know why they're doing it. But it's really all just Kabbalah. Kabbalah is the system, the software behind high magic, ceremonial magic.
But people have a real negative connotation about the Golden Dawn, right? I mean, there's a lot of misinterpretations about Crowley. I mean, have you read that new book out that talks about him? There's a pretty big book out. I should have had it in front of me here. I can't remember what it's called, but so what can you tell us a little bit about what those misconceptions are, and then what the differences are, really? Because I feel like it's really sort of one of this, like, it's been propagandized now to be really bad.
Well, the Golden Dawn Order was a initiatic order into a Rosicrucian society, right? It's a system of white magic, right? When you get into the inner orders, you don't get to mess with any of your the demons and the darker worlds or anything like that until you become an adept, so you can deal with that, because these are just aspects of yourself, really. And Lon Milo Duquette gets into that. But the biggest misconception is when people hear the Golden Dawn, they think Aleister Crowley.
Yeah.
They think Aleister Crowley is the Golden Dawn, and that's not true at all. Aleister Crowley initiated into the Golden Dawn, and there were plenty of people that didn't even want him there, but he still ended up going into the Golden Dawn. His system, the AA system that he has, is actually a system that was derived and based on the Golden Dawn, but it's a system that he really put some things in there, like he put some more Eastern practices in his system and kind of made it in his mind a little bit more advanced. But those two orders, Crowley, Thelema, the OTO, the AA, which is Crowley's system, is based on what he learned in the Golden Dawn. And I'm getting a little bit of feedback. I don't know if that's...
Yeah, that's what I was just trying to text Darren about here. There's a little bit of an echo.
Yeah, I've heard that from the beginning. That's what I was talking about.
But it wasn't there when we were testing, so what
No,
happened?
it's been
No, there's like a bit of a feedback echo or something. Only when Joe's talking. So what does that mean?
I don't know.
That's got to be coming... I don't know. It does. I don't have any way to, like, it sounds like it's coming from a room somewhere into my head.
Do you have another device on Zoom? No, eh? You don't have another device on Zoom?
Nope.
That's usually what happens when I have two Zoom devices going. But so,
Sorry.
No, that's interesting. These guys will figure it out in the background while we chat. So that makes more sense to me then.
Yeah.
What are some of the other misconceptions about Crowley then?
Well, some of the biggest misconceptions about Crowley is that he sacrificed kids and babies and stuff. And that, look, I'm not a really big fan of Crowley.
No. I'm just, yeah.
But Crowley was an intelligent person. Crowley was according to some of the Golden Dawn members, he was an oath breaker. Right? So he published all the material. Him and Israel Regard, he published pretty much all of the material about the Golden Dawn school, number one. So to them, he's an oath breaker, right? But I think in all fairness, when people accuse Crowley of sacrificing children and babies and stuff like that, the real truth is that he just wrote about it. Like what I was telling you earlier. So he was big into sex magic. And when you do sex magic, you have to have orgasms. And then when you have orgasms, you know what happens, right? So he says, well, in a writing once, he said, well, I sacrificed 99 children on a magical operation and it didn't become true. Well, what he's talking about? He's talking about his sperm. He's not talking about real children. Okay. And he would do that to mess with the public, to mess with people. He had this kind of megalomania thing where he liked to mess with the public and they would come back and say he's evil and stuff and it would just blow him up. But as far as he's got some really great writings out there, man. He really does. But I think the problem is he's being idolized because it's so profound what he's writing when people start reading his stuff. Just like the way Anton LaVey, I'm sure you've heard him speak, right? Very intelligent, makes a lot of sense. It's so profound, but really it's kind of like a slippery slope to not worrying about morals in the end. I don't think Crowley ever intended to be evil. He just got that connotation,
Yeah.
He was always trying to go outside the guidelines. So the Golden Dawn system of magic was very important to those members. It was something that they worked really hard for. It was sacred to them. And he just comes in and wants to just push everything around. And of course that would bother anybody, right?
Yeah.
So that's pretty much the biggest misconceptions out there about it, is that I've seen these articles where Crowley's supposed to be, or the Golden Dawn is doing sacrifice and this and that. And I've seen people that have done public Golden Dawn rituals, traditional rituals, be put in all of this propaganda that's not true at all. It's just a system of white magic. So it's just as equal to Eastern yoga, except it's a Western system. That's the only difference. A Western system where I guess you could say a mystic would meditate and just kind of wait on the divine light to come in and wait to unite with their higher self, right? Where the magical system in the Golden Dawn, you're forcing the situation. You're forcing this to happen through ritual and drama and incense and colors and flashing colors.
And emotion too, is emotion part of it?
Exactly. Yeah. Emotion and energy. And you're forcing yourself to deal with earth, fire, air, water, all these four aspects of yourself, right? That you need to deal with, And that's what you see on the Magician's Tarot card. On the table, you see the pentacle, the sword, the wand, and the cup, which all represent the elements of the magician. So when he has that, he's rounded out his nature. He's become a magician, an adept.
That's what Jane Shin was talking about. Elementals.
Is that the same as like the king, warrior, magician, lover sort of idea?
I don't know what you're referring to. I'm sorry.
I don't think
archetypal?
I don't think elements. The elements are coordinated with that. I don't think so. Maybe somebody might be able to do that.
The way Joe was describing it kind of twisted it into that. I've never really looked at it like that before.
Yeah. So the elements is like I said, it's air, earth, fire, and water. And there's a tool that represents each element. In fact, when you go through the Golden Dawn, you have to craft that tool. You have to craft your own earth pinnacle. You have to craft your own water cup. You have to craft your own, air dagger. You have to craft your own fire wand. And these things actually become, you see a guy doing a ritual in a circle with some wand that he just crafted like Harry Potter. And he's kind of doing this play, right? And you think, what in the hell is this guy doing? This is stupid. He's not turning anybody into a frog or anything, but what he's really doing is he is causing effects to happen inside himself He's causing effects to happen in the astral realm, and the astral realm can actually cause effects to happen here. If that makes any sense.
Yeah. Wow, that's interesting. So what's the big increase in interest in all this? What's the cause of it? Why? Like, it seems like it's coordinated with this whole political climate and the polarization that's going on now, but maybe it's not. Maybe it's just been going on slightly for 5-10 years, maybe, but it seems to be definitely increasing. Is that because there is a spiritual war going on and people are picking sides, or is that because there's just the internet and all the information that's out there now, and everybody's just finding this because it is inherent to how we live, even if we don't know it?
Well, I think it's because the mysteries are being revealed. There's a great text that says in the Bible that, all the mysteries that are hidden will be revealed, right? And so now it's all on the internet. It's everywhere. Everybody knows.
Ooh.
So everybody's starting to discover what these societies and everything have always been doing. The real truth about what they've been doing, the real truth about what they've been learning. And they're also discovering that they're bigger than they actually are, that they're not just some larvic human that has no power over anything in their life. And they want to learn this. People want to learn who they really are. They want to learn how to have power over their lives. They want to learn how to live on a better planet, how to unify people. But the biggest problem is the media. And when I say the media, I don't mean NBC and CBS. What I'm talking about is, you got Alex Jones, YouTube, people, just all kinds of different stuff where you're hearing probably half of the real truth all the time. And it's causing this divide between magicians. You see what I'm saying? There's magicians out there that they're coming together and casting spells on Trump. Now, I'm not a big fan of Trump, right? I don't think Trump is this great, fantastic guy or anything. But the problem is you're not supposed to mess with anybody's will. So if there's guys out there that are trying to bind Trump and the people that voted for him, when you bind people, you're messing with their will. You're taking away their freedom. And that's not white magic. That's black magic. And even Crowley believed this. He didn't believe in messing with people's will like that.
Wow, so it's getting intense. So, and then is there like a blowback from that?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. So
on the person casting the spell, or just on the person getting casted on?
The group of them, like.
Well, I would say both.
What's the plural of cast?
I would say both. So cast is you got people that do rituals. Right now, there's people that are doing meditations. There's mystics out there that are doing meditations at certain times of the year, certain quaternaries of the seasons and stuff to try to protect the planet. There's all kinds of secret stuff going on, but then there's all kinds of bad stuff. I'm not saying that child sacrifice is not real. I'm not saying that black magic isn't real. It's very real. There's people out there that are telling you to sleep with incubuses and succubuses, trying to teach you on YouTube to have sex with demons, right? So you can become empowered and become a living god. This isn't what the traditional magical teachings was about. This is bad stuff, and whether people realize it or not, there are forces, you could say, in these infernal realms, in the astral realms that are out there. I mean, it's not like, I know it sounds kind of make-believe and Harry Potter-ish, but it's real stuff.
Can we get back to that succubus incubus thing? Because I'll have a bunch of questions around that later.
Okay. Yeah. Sure.
I always do. I'm always looking for a solution. I don't know much about
demons. I'm not a big demonologist. So.
I mean, we can get into it now, but I kind of want to stick with the theme. No, I want to stick with the theme about what the interest and all that, and what happens to these. Like you said, there's blowback. So this is like a power struggle going on back and forth. I mean, you have all these people gathering together and cursing Trump, and then what? There's people on that side.
They're not just cursing Trump. They're not just binding Trump. They're binding the people that voted for him too, which is more than, according to what we saw, which is at least half the United States. They're using they're calling demons from the infernal realm. This is kind of old news actually, but they're trying to pick a fight with people like it's a Trump thing. But what's really happening is they're trying to take control over the situation. Like say you have an idea of how the world should look in a perfect place, right?
Yep.
but you can't force that on people. And maybe
Right.
other people don't agree with your idea of the world.
Yeah.
That's not, some people think they're doing a good thing when they do that, but it's not. You have to let all of these people evolve and come into what we're supposed to become naturally. You can't force the situation. The only thing that you can control is what happens to you. That's what you're supposed to do in magic. If you want to force the situation, if you want to deal with all your own demons and your own self, that's great. But don't force other people to do it. You could be wrong, you know? So that's kind of black magic. It's like you're messing with somebody else's will and they think it's white magic just because they don't like Trump, right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And believe me, I'm not a Trump lover.
No.
By no means.
So, how does one enlist in the Golden Dawn if they wanted to start the path?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of ways you can do it. There's 2 big schools in the United States out there. There's David Griffin's school, which is the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn and the Alpha Omega. Then there's Chick Cicero's school, right? Who both of these, which is, I guess you could say, the Hermetic of the Order of the Golden Dawn, based out of England, I believe. They've gotten a couple of battles with each other. It's kind of funny, but both of these schools are teaching the original Golden Dawn teachings. The before Crowley came along and did his thing, both of these schools are teaching it. David Griffin's kind of a little bit louder than Chick Cicero, but David has a lot of concern for what black magicians are doing. But you don't have to join a school. A lot of people don't want to join a school. There's a lot of there's a way to do it on your own. You know, you can do it through books and learn the rituals and do them yourself. I would say David Griffin's Ritual Magic Manual is a good book to get. There's also, I was going to show everybody this book by Liam Thomas Christopher. It's called Kabbalah Magic and the Great Work of Self-Transformation. Okay? Now,
Nice.
This book is probably one of the better ones that gives an individual, if you just want to do it yourself. It's got references and source references. It sticks to the original teachings, and you can do that. Now, you don't have to do this. I'm just saying I really want to come on here to defend the original traditions, because nobody's doing that. There's a lot of talk about Crowley, chaos magic, and all this other stuff, but everybody's forgetting where it all came from, you know.
Wow.
And it's in the Bible.
So I got a website here too, the Golden Dawn Ancient Mystery School. Have you heard of that one? Just
The Golden
.com?
Dawn Ancient Mystery School? No.
.com, no. Okay.
It
Seems like there's a lot of them popping up, probably, right?
Yeah, there's the Esoteric Order of the Golden Dawn. There's a lot of people. So the 2 schools I mentioned actually have some type of lineage back to the original Golden Dawn. It was created in 1888.
Wow. Okay.
By 3 Masons: Samuel McGregor Mathers, Wynn Westcott, and Robert Word. I always get it confused. I call him Robert Wood sometimes, but there were three Freemasons that wanted to keep the Rosicrucian thing going, but kind of like in an advanced way. So this system was created. So all the magic you get now, Wicca, pretty much all the magic systems you see now, even though they are their own thing, the original form was this system. But this system also goes way back to the Renaissance too. This system was created in 1888.
So it sounds like one of the core tenets is freedom, like the freedom of, to let people have their freedom as well.
Right. Yes. That's what it's all about. Real white magic is about rounding out yourself, figuring out who you are, working with all these different energies, the elements, the planets, the Sephiroth and the Tree of Life, the Zodiac, working with all these energies that are in yourself in an esoteric manner through ritual and drama and emotion and energy that taps into the subconscious, that goes into the astral realm, and that affects your life, right? So that's how it works. But what people are more interested in is, well, since I know I can do these things, I can use these energies to get what I want. Well, yeah, you can. I mean, that's what being a magician, you can do that, but you should really work on yourself first. That's just my opinion. I'm not trying to force that on anybody. All I'm trying to do is say there's not a lot of people talking about this now. It's not popular. It's popular to talk about Crowley and chaos magic, right?
So a lot of these alternative, like podcasts, maybe, and alternative communication tools and movements, they're talking about, like the
Or encouraging black magic.
Well, I don't think they're encouraging black
Or
magic.
uneducated magic.
I think
Half-educated.
they might be forgetting the traditional systems. Now, I haven't read, I haven't took Gordon White's system, but I'm sure if Gordon White is a great magician, which a lot of people say he is, then in his system, he's probably having his students deal with their elements and their natures before they start getting into this stuff. That's what I feel is important, you know, because you become responsible for more than just yourself and the people in your life. And it can be dangerous. I mean, anytime you mess with your psyche, it can be real dangerous.
But how do you warn people that are going down the wrong path and end up on the side where they're, I don't know if I should talk about sides, but do you know what I mean? Like, there's a whole bunch of people getting interested in this stuff now. There's a whole bunch of people that are on the fence, even like just Darren and I, learning more about it. Mm-hmm. How do you keep them, or not keep them, but what kind of advice do you give them for?
You can't control other people, motherfucker. Didn't you hear what you just said?
That's why I stopped myself.
Well, I think first and foremost, you got to realize that there are several systems to get to this place, to get to your higher self, to get to what the Golden Dawn calls a holy guardian angel. There are Eastern systems. There's all kinds of different. Magic is just one form of it. Okay, I mean that's why I separated. I call it Western traditional mystery schools or ceremonial magic or high magic, right? There's also mysticism. Mysticism is more of a, you know, you still got to deal with yourself, but to me it's not really you can't really apply it, in my opinion. I guess you could, but you're just sitting around waiting. I'm just going to meditate and wait for everything to happen. You got these people in the East that'll sit there for months and just, I mean, not even take a bath and just meditate and wait for this to come in. And it does. They open up the third eye. They do all this. Eventually it does, but you can get there in other ways as well. I will say that the magical system is a little bit more harsh. When you go through the initiation system, if you're not having to deal with all these things, like let's say when you go through Earth, you're going to be forced to deal with your health. You're going to be forced to deal with your financial situation, probably motherly issues that you've had, you know, these things will actually start happening in your life. And see, that's how I know that it's real, because these things actually started happening to me, forcing me to deal with my own crap, putting you in a boiling pot, right?
Yeah.
And once you've mastered that, you've mastered it, then you create your pinnacle. Now you've got that tool down, and you can use that tool for the rest of your life, you know?
And then what happens during the other elements for you?
Well, then you move on to like air, and you have to deal with your intellect and your psyche, right? Yeah. And water, you have to deal with your emotional nature. Yeah. And then fire, you have to deal with your desires and your passions, pretty much. And you got a tool for each one. But it's what you're doing when you're doing these rituals. Well, let's just start with a neophyte, right? Every school you start out as a neophyte, like a probationary grade. And,
so that's like prospecting.
Right, exactly. That's exactly what that is. And so when you're a neophyte, you learn how to work with the energies. You learn how to block bad energy and invoke good energy. You learn how to protect yourself from bad energy, but you also learn how to charge good things, right? So that's what you use when you see everybody doing this lesser banishing ritual, the pentagram. Well, the pentagram is used to do that. It's either used to charge certain things or invoke certain things. So are hexagrams. So this is kind of where you see the sacred geometry come from, where you see how you see on Doctor Strange and they're doing all these different things. Well, they got that idea from the Golden Dawn and original magic, where they're using geometry to evoke or invoke things or to protect.
And on the OA too, right?
I was going to ask about that. Yeah.
I've the OA. What is that? I don't think I've ever seen it.
Didn't we talk about this? You said you're going to watch it.
It's about.
You lied to me, Joe. That's okay. I'll send you a link.
It's about some people reaching. What were they going? Was it near death stuff, or was it?
Yeah, there was a bunch of near death people that get together, and they were able to do that fucking crazy dance and bring Buddy back to life.
movement intention, and then reaching other states and stuff. And
I told you I was going to watch that, and I didn't do it.
I think so. It might have been someone else.
I was just yanking
your chain.
Well, because we had We had a guy on. I think it was Dan
It's
Davidson.
come up
was
like
the guy.
4 or 5 times now, I think, on the show.
We had a guy on that wrote a big paper on shape power, right? Everything has power. These shapes have powers. And he created these intentional movement scenarios, and the Hollywooders dropped by and stole his material and made this show. They didn't give him any credit for
that's
it.
right. Yeah, they stole his idea.
And OA was a fucking cool show. And he's
The
the guy.
ending
Check
is
it
kind
out,
of
man,
fucked.
for real.
Yeah. It was, yeah. Anyways, yeah, you'd like it for sure.
I mean, it's kind of boring stuff, when people start learning the original system, what it was really for. Like, in the neophyte grade, you're taught to project and block energies. You're taught to project energies through pentagrams and hexagrams. You're taught to stop the influx of bad energies. You learn how to do defense yourselves with Egyptian signs of like Horus and Harpocrat and stuff. The sign of silence. You're taught how to increase your auric field and get more energy through the middle pillar ritual. So that's all you're doing. You learn visualization exercises, meditations, breathing exercises, and how to project and block energy. And you got to do this every day. Don't do what? This? Why? Does that bother you?
No, I like it.
That's your middle pillar energy.
That's your middle pillar. But it's getting my middle pillar excited.
When people say middle pillar, you got to imagine the tree, like, the middle of yourself, the chakras. When you look at the tree of life, you got 2 pillars there, where you also got a middle pillar, which keeps everything balanced. So you learn about that. You learn about polarity and things of that nature. And then you go into working with each element after you learn how to do that.
So this is what the whole New Age movement is tapping into.
Magical, yeah. It used to be more of a meditation. Yeah, you're right. I mean, but it used to be more meditate and crystals and unicorns and stuff, and now it's people are getting into the occult aspect, the Western aspect of it even more.
I think there's even 2 factions. I think you've got the more down and dirty occult magician style, and then you've got, I think, the New Age people that are looking at it more as manifestation and intention. That are doing it sort of on the...
Like the law of attraction side.
God damn it, Graham. On the law of attraction side, I could almost see that as like 2 different camps.
Yeah, so, and they both work. To me, they both
it'd be the same thing. And the Eastern, too, they're all tapping into the same thing then, right?
Yeah.
The Force.
Yeah, I believe that. So I chose the Western system because it lines up with my paradigm, and the energies, like the Jewish God names, the Christian God names, the Egyptian God names vibrate with me more than, say, Eastern Vedic stuff does, right? So it works in my life a lot more than that other stuff. And that's because of my upbringing,
That's an interesting way to look at it. I didn't consider that it's all just sort of different ways for different types of people to tap into the same thing.
Right. Yeah, that's all it is. It's just the Golden Dawn system was the original magical system based on all this stuff that you're seeing today,
In the West. Can you hear me?
Jiggle your cord.
I don't know if it's...
You got a bad cord, brother?
How does it just stop in the middle of the podcast? How does it just stop working though in the middle? Can you hear me at all?
Somebody's trying to get me to shut up. That's what it is.
No, you're still working.
Graham's just high maintenance. I ordered some of that.
How's that? There.
Much better.
See, how does that just stop? And
I ordered
didn't even
some
touch...
of that cleaning stuff. It should be
Were
here.
you fucking zapping me with your crazy fire energy or something, Darren?
I don't have my dice.
Somebody's trying to get us to stop talking about it.
So how do we deal with... Oh, go ahead. Finish that thought before we...
So the original magical system is kind of boring, right? Every day you got to get up and you got to do meditations, visualizations, and rituals. And people don't want to do that, man. They want to keep watching movies and doing their comic books and then just do a sigil and, jerk off and be done with it, right? That's what they want to do.
Sounds great.
And to me, sounds great, right? But to me, I think that's a problem because now in the astral realm is getting insanely crazy right now for anybody that actually travels it.
They're busy up there. They're like, oh man, more of these fucking orgasms to deal with.
Yeah.
We can't plan out the...
Look at them all just running into each other.
All the sigils and orgasms.
There's people, man, that understand all this, that have adapted a system to our society. Like Jason Louve's teachings are fantastic. You know, he doesn't really. I guess I don't think he's Golden Dawn per se, or OTO or Thelema, but his teachings, they understand all of this. He understands this, and he kind of takes his students through that. The tarot that people are using, you know, the tarot that everybody's always using,
Yeah.
the whole magical initiatic path is in that tarot through all the elements and it's right there. But a lot of people aren't seeing that. I think more people are seeing it now than usual, though.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, between Harry Potter and Star Wars, a lot of people looking at magic.
Yeah, for sure. I
And
mean,
Dungeons and Dragons is coming back. I mean,
oh, here we go.
it's magical time, I guess.
Yeah.
You're right. Well, I just think it's important that people stop putting the Golden Dawn in that category of black magic, Crowley, chaos magic, child molesters, Hollywood. Now, it's not to say Hollywood's not using magic, because they definitely are.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But this society used to be a secret
It's been
thing.
hijacked.
Exactly. It used to be a secret thing, initiating people that were ready to go through this. They didn't feel like they were special or put themselves above people. When you came in, they would read your astrological chart, talk to you, and see who you really were, and figure out if you were ready to take on this, because it's not easy. It's the hardest work. If you're doing traditional ceremonial magical work, it'll be one of the hardest things you've ever done. And if it's not, you're not doing it right.
Yeah. So let's get into a little bit of the succubus incubus thing before I forget and we lose time. So what would you do, like you learning all that kind of stuff? Like how do people deal with people that want it? Like I can't believe there's this other side where people are. No, but
because there's a fascination there. I'm just curious.
Well, somebody I love does,
Okay.
right? So it's like.
You sure it's not astrogram?
It's not astrogram. No, yeah. Stay in your body. No, but because I can't believe there's this other side where people are trying to manifest this, where there's other people that are scared shitless to go to sleep at night because this happens, and it's a real phenomena that people have to deal with, and there's not very many solutions that work.
Well, you've got two dynamics going on here. What you're talking about is the magical. I guess you could do, I hate even saying this, but people divide magicians up into left-hand path or right-hand path magicians. The real truth of it is there's people out there that are doing this just for power reasons, and some of them are even in denial about it. Oh, they'll say, it's not about power. But what they do, it shows you that they just want power. That's all they want. And I mean, I'm going to get into this Lord of the Rings thing, right? When you get around the ring of power, that's what that's all about.
Yeah, I want to ask you about your buddy who was trying to manifest power by his throat thing there. I want to talk about that too,
but that's what it's all about, is power. Then the other side is just you're just trying to find your divine self, and then once you find that, and then you get that power, which actually comes from a source. Some people call it God. That's what I call it, God. You actually realize that this is coming from somewhere else, and you're just a part of this thing, but you know who you really are now. Then you help the planet and help society and help others. You could still do, I'm not saying don't do things for yourself. I'm not saying that at all. There's plenty of Golden Dawn magicians that once they get to that level, once they actually become a real magician, they've been through the elements and everything, that they cast for better things in their lives, but they don't affect other people's will. They don't make pacts with demons per se. I mean, some of them did, but I don't see why you would. Why would you make pacts with demons when you can work with angels? Why? You have to sacrifice something when you make a pact with demons. Sure, you might get it faster, but you're going to lose out on something. Even Lon Milo Duquette will tell you, if you want to study what real Goetia is when you make pacts with demons and what demons really are and what you're actually doing and what happens, Lon Milo Duquette is the best person to listen to, because he'll tell you, look, I had to make a pact with a demon once, and I went limping away from it. And when you do this, you're going to go limping away. But you learn something and you move on. I, on the other hand, don't see the point in it when I can get angels to help me. Legions of them.
So how can you get these angels to help people with succubus problems?
Well, that's an individual thing. Like, so you mean problems like people are having sleep paralysis and they're seeing
Yeah.
these things
Yeah.
and stuff
yeah,
like that?
Yeah. Like literal succubus encounters, like what the succubus are supposedly doing to people and are that they
Right.
are doing to people.
Well, something, either that thing is there because it's a family, it's been there and through family and blood, or someone's put that thing on whoever this person is.
Yeah.
Or, the best way to deal with that is to confront it magically, in my opinion. Right. Or there's plenty of actual real people out there that can get rid of that thing for you. The person that it's happening to, if they went through or learned, let's just say psychic, if they picked up the book by Dion Fortune, who was also one of the original members of the Golden Dawn, called Psychic Self-Defense, they would be able to deal with that thing.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
But they've got to learn their own power, and they've got to learn the source of the power.
Dion who?
Dion Fortune.
I'm gonna put all these things we talk about in the show notes.
Everything
people.
that you would ever want to know about the show.
So that goes into psychic self-defense, curses and magical attacks and things of that nature that people think aren't real, but they actually are very real.
How do you know if you're being cursed or attacked or anything like that? What are some of the symptoms?
Well, in my case, they're all different, but in my case, the one thing that you could look at is nothing goes right. Everything that can go wrong will go wrong. And I'm not just saying it's in your head. It's really happening. Everything that can screw up is screwing up. And if that continues and it doesn't stop and it just keeps happening, in my opinion, you're under some type of magical or psychic attack. But also the individual, what you'll notice is the individual will kind of feel it too. Even if it's somebody that doesn't believe in magic, they'll, out of the blue, they'll say, man, it feels like something's messing with me out there. I don't know, right? And they're tapping into their intuition. They know there's something there, and they just need to clear that field, however you want to do it. See, and the Western ceremonial systems teach you that. They teach you how to do that.
Yeah, that makes sense. It would just be hard to separate out, like, because some people are in that negative mind space, and that's why stuff's happening all the time. You think that, if they were waking up with a different sort of attitude, that things might change. Where does it cross over between? You just gotta, be mindful about your state of being, because you're creating some of that. Or if you're always looking at the negative, more negative stuff's gonna happen. I mean, it's.
That's right. You can cast it on yourself for sure. You could be psychically and magically attacking yourself.
Oh, maybe
Absolutely.
that's kind of what it is. So there's doing it to yourself subconsciously, even just being in that negative mind frame constantly. I mean, the negative self-talk. I mean, people have those issues with their self-esteem and negative self-talk. You're almost doing it to yourself, or then you could have it externally happen to you through other means.
Yeah, and if somebody's dealing with a succubus or something like that, these things, demons, succubuses, bad elemental forms.
Is an incubus the same as a succubus?
No, an incubus is
incubus is male,
incubating, like
succubus
succubus sucking. Like there's
So one's a boy and one's a girl?
pretty much, female and male, I would say, not boy and girl.
But it's also an energetic thing. It's also an energetic thing too, right? So the female succubus takes in, the female energy also absorbs and takes in too. So that's a whole nother subject in magic as well, but it's definitely there. But if these things feed off of fear, so whoever this person is, the more that they're like, oh, they're afraid and they're talking about it, and then they feel like there's nothing they can do, they're just going to make it worse. They're just going to keep feeding this thing.
I know, but it's really hard to get out of that. It's hard to get out because when it happens in the moment, it's fucking scary and you can't do anything. It's hard to remember when it happens in the moment to, let's say, pray for Jesus or to call him out or to face it fearlessly. It's really hard because in that moment you're scared shitless.
Give him a placebo.
Yeah, that's
some
probably
sugar pills.
Oh my god!
Be like these are demon slaying pills.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's almost like what our guest, the one I loved. What was it?
Cruising Mistake.
Who's the guy we had on?
Cruising Mistake.
Recently, I can't remember the name now. I'm losing it. The one
Greg
on OB.
Doyle?
Yeah, Greg Doyle. Greg Doyle fought that being for like a week.
Yeah.
And then finally got out of that fear mode and went into his heart, and that's how he ended up getting out of that situation.
So it's all about the love and magic too?
Yeah. So you know how people talk about Christ consciousness, Christ
Yes.
consciousness. On the tree of life, it's Tifereth. It's the sixth sphere. It's actually when you tap into your higher self, when you tap into ultimate love, you are tapping into your higher self and your Christ consciousness. And there's nothing out there that could combat with that. It's just that a magician can use a divine name like that person you're talking about. If they vibrated the name of Yeshua, see what would happen. Not because they believe in it, but it's because it's a name that's been used since the beginning of time by magicians for protection.
It's got that power.
You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the
Yeah.
word?
Yeshua.
Yeshua.
It's also used in the Rose Cross ritual too. You know, many times.
Yeshua.
Rose
which is
Cross
like
ritual.
what people are saying that's Jesus, what Jesus's real name was. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is the problem that Crowley had with the original Golden Dawn. He started feeling that religious thing about it, and I think he was super upset with religion to begin with, and I think he got
that it was its own religion, or that it was derived too much from religion, from Christianity.
I think a little bit of
religion was derived from it, probably.
Yeah, see, because the Golden Dawn uses Christian names, it uses Hebrew god names, it uses Egyptian god names and Chaldean god names, and I think what it was is that Crowley saw a system that people were just not questioning anything about. They were just doing it.
Okay.
And even if he didn't agree with something about the system, he wouldn't challenge. No one would challenge it, and that's what bothered him. Is he wanted to perfect this thing. He wanted to speed things up. He wanted to get there faster. That's what he was all about. And a lot of, like Samuel McGregor Mathers, which was one of the heads of the order, actually took a liking to Aleister Crowley. Took him under his wing when other people didn't like him.
Huh.
Because he had vision. He just wasn't there to accept whatever system that they were giving him. Once he became an adept, he had questions.
So, Darren, originally you wanted to talk about the religious aspect of magic, or how did you word that? And Joe was like, "Well, yeah, let's get on and talk about that." That was a few weeks back.
I forget.
What?
I think it was mostly just to do with the religion and magic and how intertwined they are.
Is that what it was?
The Catholic Church has an inner society, which is one of
the
the
missing
things.
book. That's what it was. The missing books in the Bible and stuff like that. How the.
Is that what you were talking about, or was it more about the current political climate
and
in religion? No, it wasn't about that. Like, it wasn't about the spiritual warfare. It was more about that.
Yeah.
So, which gets into what I was kind of going to just ask about. You mentioned, the Egyptians and all the different, I don't know if lineages is the right word, that the Golden Dawn took this from, or created this from. So, did they all have their own ancient schools and magic traditions then that they pulled this from?
Well, as far as the Golden Dawn system is concerned, it comes from it kind of has the same backstory as the Rosicrucian Manifesto. Apparently, this stuff was handed down through ciphers and manuscripts, and they've kept that real secret. So I don't know,
right?
To be honest with you,
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
All I know is that it works, right?
Yeah.
I don't know exactly how they got the system, but I do know where these things come from. Egypt, Chaldean magic, the Hebrews, Christianity. I am doing this a lot with my hand, right?
Okay.
I make a lot of hand gestures.
That's
Aaron's
okay.
got me all worried about it.
I gave you a complex. That's
Yeah,
magic.
you did.
That's
exactly
magic,
what
Joe.
you did. But yeah, so that's where it all comes from, and it's like in the Catholic Church, they have an inner society of what you would call like magicians, right? They do rituals in secret. They do things like that. They don't ever tell or ever show anybody, but they have like an inner order. And Leo Zagami actually tapped into this and is talking about it,
Leo Zagami was one of the ones that this friend of mine first wanted us when we started this podcast to get on.
Leo Zagami?
Is he like a whistleblower from one of these things, Leo, kind of?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is it a magic whistle?
Leo Zagami has been, he, there's certain things I don't agree with about, because he attacks pretty much all secret societies, it seems.
Yeah.
But now he's kind of on the fence of, you can tell he doesn't mind white magicians like David Griffin or anybody that does a traditional Rosicrucian magic with, I guess, that Christian theme or whatever you want to call it. But the problem is there are secret societies out there doing things that we're not aware of, especially in the Catholic Church. And the reason the New Testament is kind of funky and it's a little wonky, right, is because there's all kinds of books, like Darren said, that got thrown out.
Like the Enochian ones, or even more hidden ones.
Yeah. The Book of Enoch, which is referenced several times, it got tossed out.
Yeah.
Which is the one that
Apocrypha,
talks about the aliens, isn't it?
Do what?
Doesn't the Book of Enoch talk about the aliens?
It could. See, and that's more of what Jason Louv is talking about. I asked him too, because I know at the top of the Golden Dawn, you get into the angelic languages and they teach you Enochian magic, and you start invoking and evoking angels, and it's really powerful stuff. But it has nothing to do with the Book of Enoch. But if you look at the Book of Enoch, it definitely seems like it could be aliens. I've always wondered that myself, for sure.
So what
But
are
just
some?
because they're aliens don't mean they're bad people.
No. What are some of the other books then that if we were to take and learn about all those old books, it would be a completely different picture of religion and Christianity?
In the Apocrypha there is I believe it's the Wisdom of Solomon. I forget which one. It's either the Song of Solomon or Wisdom of Solomon, where he talks about the demons and what they actually do to people. And, it's a magical book. But see, the Council of Nicaea, they threw all that stuff out because to them it wasn't, I guess, quote unquote, the canon or the original text. They got to decide what they thought was fake and what wasn't.
Huh. Yeah. Yeah.
Or what they didn't want
again,
mass
they also made
disseminated.
Right. And they also made their own secret little societies too, to keep everybody under control. So the original design of religion was actually designed as a doorway for you to tap into these higher mysteries.
Mm-hmm.
But over time it got turned into dogma, got turned into systems of control. And that's all religions.
I know.
think,
I wonder if that's
for
like a natural
Progression
evolution or progression of
things that just eventually all turn into control mechanisms.
Yeah.
Son of
It's
a
Or if it's kind of rare, I mean, I wonder if we were on another planet somewhere and this happened. Like, is that a rare
Yeah.
thing, or does it
If
turn
you
out?
have to fucking go to another planet for an example of it not happening, then it's not rare.
Or let's say, like, 100,000 years ago when we were also advanced, or before the Ice Age.
I think control is a human thing.
You think control is a human what?
Human thing.
Yeah.
People want to control other people.
It's not a sentient thing.
I don't know.
he thinks it's a human condition.
Yeah, I think
well,
it might be. It might be a sentient thing
battles
too.
for
I mean,
control too.
Yeah. Huh.
Usually
in a
control
different
of the
way.
women.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, look what's happened to astrology. I mean, the original teachings have been blown out of proportion, and they're just now getting back to that. Like, there's
Man,
some really good astrologers out there now.
This is what
You know?
Gene Shin was talking about too, Darren. We gotta. Yeah.
To do a round table.
Yeah.
Magicians.
Yeah, totally. How it's the astrology's all out of kilter and out of whack, and there's the
Oh yeah,
true
Yeah, I mean,
astrology that.
yeah, and if you start learning, like, man, the Golden Dawn system is super complex, guys. Like, I got a book I'm going to send you. It's The Complete System of Golden Dawn by Israel Regardie, and it's just the inner order. See, even once you get past that, you get into the inner orders. There's actually 3. Like, you get past that, and then you get into the RRAC, which is the inner order, where you're now a real adept and a magician, but you're learning to do things in the astral realm and in the inner realms, and you're studying higher books, like a school would. And then there's an even inner order to that. So all I'm trying to say is that all of these people that are getting into magic, talking about it and doing it, it's almost like I feel like we've lost the original reasons what high magic was designed to do, which was to round out yourself in a very fast way. It's kind of like putting you in a boiling pot, which is another thing about alchemy you'll see. But they put you in a boiling pot where you're forced to deal with all these things about yourself, and it's not easy at all. But you're also learning all these secret powers, and these secret powers are planetary influences, zodiacal influences, elemental influences, Sephirotic influences from the Tree of Life. And as a magician, not only do you understand them, but you can see things coming. You can work in the astral realm. You can use them. And I mean, there's not Israel Regardie, but Samuel Onvioris talks about this, but he's kind of weird. But there's a lot of people that you'll study that when they get into astral travel, if you read these books by Robert Bruce,
Yep.
Robert Monroe, they'll run into these magicians in the astral realm and they really don't know what they are.
Huh.
You see, they don't know.
And you think it could be like magicians from this plane that are in the astral realm at the time?
Right. Yeah, I saw this hooded figure that come and helped me out, and I really couldn't see his face. Blah 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 blah. But he started questioning those things. Well, if I can affect the world in the astral realm, this wasn't a magician. This guy had nothing to do with magic. These things just started happening to him in the astral realm. But he did find out that he could affect this physical realm through the astral realm. And he said, well, if I can do it, that makes me wonder who else out there is doing it. Does the government know about this? Are they influencing us in our minds through this realm? And he just really gets deep into it. And so I think a lot of people are trying to understand magic so that they can understand that aspect, because you learn not to get duped. You learn when you see a corporate logo, you start seeing the ancient symbols in it and the colors, and you see how it influences your subconscious, and you can just reject it and block it, but it's coming from a magical thing, if that makes any sense.
That reminds me of just the influence the mainstream media has over us right now. Just putting out those. So how much of that is going to backfire? Like all this propaganda that happens, like especially lately, there's been so much propaganda about certain things, but in a way it opens themselves up to like foot and mouth disease, like to see how.
Where are you going with this, Dunlap?
Yeah, maybe we shouldn't go there.
No, what are you talking about, man?
Well, like you talk about corporate logos, and the mainstream media has a message for us all. People. It's a brainwashing machine, right? And it's been happening for decades, but it seems to be coming to a time when it's losing control, because the more they try and brainwash us, the more we put out memes that prove that the hypocrisy of it all. I mean, It seems like they're eating themselves, or they're putting their foot in their mouth to the point where they can't get it out anymore. Like they'll put out a meme or a lie about something, and then somebody turns around and proves that the complete opposite is true through magic, memes, or whatever.
Right.
Meme-jic?
I don't know what I'm trying to ask.
Well, what I'm saying is maybe these people are being influenced as well.
Yeah.
A lot of us like to think there's this dark and black magician at the top of a tower with runes tattooed all over him running these corporations, but it could just be something else that's tapping into it. It's kind of like an art.
Like what, archons and stuff, or what? Like
could be
aliens.
I know there could be.
Could be.
And that's another thing that I wonder about too, because I'm no expert in this field, man. The only thing that I know is that I'm a traditional magician, and there's not many of us left, right? The traditional teachings are getting just thrown out the window. And even Crowley's teachings to me are more traditional than what people are doing nowadays.
Wow.
So there's a lot of good stuff by Crowley. I know a lot of people wanted me to come on here and just tout Crowley and bash him to death. That's not what I'm here to do. I think it's gotten away from the original teachings. I think that it's getting... Look, I mean, guys, you can get on YouTube and listen to these guys talk about and justify human sacrifice. It's all there. They're tapping into realms. They're learning the power of blood. Like blood is really a magical thing. Blood sacrifice is real. The power behind it is real. It's very dark, too.
Adrenochrome is real?
Adrenochrome is real, man. Yeah.
Is that shit that comes flying out of people's mouths and stuff?
No. That's the blood. What happens to the blood when you scare the shit out of somebody and then kill them?
Yeah. And so blood is also, if you think about it from an alchemical nature, it's fire and water mixed, right? It's one of the most potent and magical forces out there. And there's some power-hungry people. Big, thick books you can buy online, too. It's like $3,000 about how to use this demon in your life and stuff, and people all want it. And it's like, why don't you deal with your elemental nature? Nobody cares about finding out who they really are anymore and the divine places they come from. They just want power on this place. We're not here that long, guys. This is going to go by like that. What we should be doing is trying to figure out who we really are to make this place better. so we don't keep losing who, when we have communion with our holy guardian angel, we're no longer dumb. Like, we're not going to wake up again and be a baby and go, oh, what the fuck is this? What is this? You now become united with your higher self. You don't have to do that anymore. You can travel the stars and the planets. You can reincarnate however you want.
I was just going to say that. Yeah. Does it affect it? It affects current, future lives too then, right? If you reach this level of, let's say, awareness or enlightenment's probably not the right word, but then
wizardry.
And then you can affect your future lives and what you reincarnate into, and maybe be able to remember that. Like I remember we were talking about this a little bit. If we die and you have a certain awareness, like when that energy goes on, maybe some of it can be retained into the next life. And then you hear about the bloodlines and the people that are on the sort of like on the evil side of things, or the elite that they're forcing that to happen through bloodlines as well, and like reincarnating into the same bloodline and all that. So there is the other side to that.
Yeah, you're not stuck in that cycle. But what I'm saying is, you're not Graham Dunlop.
Who is
Graham Dunlop? Graham.
That's just my identity. My story.
That's the big question.
That's my story. That's just your stage name.
Yeah, that's my story. I'm really just this energy pattern, right?
That's just your meat. That's just what we call your meat suit.
When you find out who you really are and you unite with that, it's all over, man. You can do what you want. You do have ultimate power. And what you'll find is a lot of people that get to that state, and we've only learned about maybe 3 people in all the books we've ever read, like true magicians, like Dr. Stylianos Ateshelis, who's also known as Daskalos, I feel was a great magician. One of my friends that passed away, Stephen Ash, I feel like he was. But when you get to that point, then you have life everlasting. The human body still dies, but your consciousness is no longer in this weird cycle of loss and gain and loss and trying to reconcile the self again. You can. That's what the books teach. Now, do I know if that's real? No, but I will say that by going through the rituals and progressing through the stuff that I know, I've learned how to communicate with my higher self better, right? I'm actually been able to listen to it and nature and see that there's something out there that's trying to talk to me, and I'm not crazy because I've tested it scientifically through journaling. Yeah. That's why they have you journal. Yeah. The original Golden Dawn Order also said you cannot do this without seeing a shrink. You were forced to have a shrink so you don't lose it, so you don't become megalomania, so you stay level while you're going through these things. These were the original teachings, not splooging on something on a piece of paper,
That works so.
Not saying that there's anything wrong with that, but sorry.
Graham's not master of his domain.
I tried that one. Me and Red Pill Junkie talked to you about that. Yeah, we both did that once. And
magic semen?
Worked. Yeah, and it, like sigil magic and the orgasm on it, and it fucking worked.
God damn it.
Were you guys together?
100%. No, we weren't together. Could have been at the same time, though, maybe. That would be funny if it was. And then we met up years later at the podcast.
It was the same time. That'd be cool to you? You guys should have set it up. Hey, man, I'm ready to get started.
What if we did that and we both changed our lives and then we met at the for the podcast? I mean, that would be pretty incredible.
Wow. Soulmates.
What did you want to get into more about religion and stuff? Did you have some more questions about that?
No.
You see, Christ knew all this stuff too. I'll just tell you that, the mysteries that he was telling his, when he told his disciples, you understand the mysteries.
Was he a magician?
I believe he was, yes, sir.
Muhammad too?
What about the Buddha?
Yes.
To both?
Now, as far as the Buddha goes and Jesus, like Western ceremonial magicians, no. But a true magician, yes.
Yeah.
What about Gandhi?
I don't think so.
Hitler?
No, Hitler wanted to be, but Hitler had an idea of power, right? Hitler had an idea. He understood the occult, but he wasn't about trying to fix himself. His whole idea was power derived. It's black magic. And see, the black magicians justify it. They think that they're doing the world and everybody a favor. because they're forcing
The
their
ends
beliefs
justify
and their
the means.
ideas and visions, right? And they think it's good, and they have tons of people that write and say, yeah, it really is good if you just listen, but it's not. You've got to let people evolve at their own pace.
So how many of these things are affected by the oath breakers out there? Do you know what I mean? Like you mentioned. I don't mean how many specifically, but you mentioned that
106.
Crowley was the oath breaker, right? For the Golden Dawn, right?
Yeah. So once Crowley published the material, it was all over, and so Israel Regardie came along and decided to make sure that the material got published right. Actually, Israel Regardie worked with Crowley a little bit. Both of those guys decided that this wasn't something, and there was some strife in the order too. There was a lot of people that believed what they believed, that the public needed to know this stuff, that this shouldn't be kept secret, that this path of initiation and these rites and rituals and all of the secrets about the forces need to be out in the public for people to study. And so Israel Regardie, after the Crowley published all this stuff, Israel Regardie came along and really put the fine touches on everything. So the original system is out there for anybody to do.
Is there an
But
abridged?
there are
Is there an
schools
abridged version?
And yeah, there is an abridged version. Yeah, actually, there sure is.
How many pages is that? Just 1,500?
No, I don't think it's that many pages, but the original one's a lot. It's got like 3,000 or more pages on it.
So what about the
That's like-
specific one that you practice?
12 books.
The one that I practice is I use David Griffin's Ritual Magic Manual because I believe that David completed the system. There's a lot of people out there that don't, but I do.
Right.
And a lot of magicians like Lon Milo Duquette and other people have put their eyes on this man's book. And there were some things about the original Golden Dawn system that didn't get completed by Mathers and stuff. And I believe that David Griffin completed it. And so, and he has all the original teachings, the original way to do the Egyptian, the Egyptian way to do these rituals. Let's just say that, the Egyptian way, right? The ancient way to do the rituals, the proper way to vibrate the names. And you can get, and that book is actually selling on Amazon for like $1,500 or something, but I think you can get his ebook for $7 freaking, right?
What's it called again?
It's called The Ritual Magic Manual by David Griffin.
So are you in a group of people that practice this then?
If I thought we were going to save that for the Black Budget feed.
Oh,
That's it. All right.
that's kind of what I'm getting at.
Well, yeah.
Do you want?
Save that for the
So
Black
you
Budget.
can. Yeah, we can talk a little bit more detail about that then.
Sure.
Okay.
No one will off you.
There's certain things that I'm not allowed to talk about.
So we don't have to call you Oathbreaker afterwards.
Right. Well, I think that's
That's gonna go a long way in Dungeons and Dragons.
the only thing that these orders keep that's secret nowadays, except for what real alchemy is, a lot of people think they understand what that is the passwords and the handshakes. As long as you don't reveal those things, you're good.
Okay.
Well, you're gonna show us?
No, I'm not going to show you no passwords and handshakes.
Son of a bitch. All right. Well, of course, the hour and 10 minutes flew by as usual. Big thanks to Joe for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And check out Fringe FM. What is it? Lighting the Void?
Man, we didn't
Lighting
even
the Void is my show.
like talk about yourself more in your show and all that. We didn't
Out
even
of time.
We just flew through all the magic stuff. Yeah, talk about yourself and your show
Plug
a
your
little
show
bit.
quick.
Yeah.
Darren's
before we
like
let
out
you
of
go.
time. Too bad. Yeah, so Lighting the Void is the name of the show. It's at lightingthevoid.com. I'm about to go on starting July 9th, 4 nights a week.
Oh,
9
wow.
p.m. Pacific
Holy.
For 3 hours. All right. And then the network is The Fringe FM, and that's thefringe.fm. So I'm probably the only self-proclaimed Western occultist that's doing a steady radio show out there.
And Joe's going to give me my
4
own
nights a week.
number so that when I just feel like I have a fucking rant, I can just call in and blurt it out.
Darren's got his own special line.
Oh
They have
my
to be on
God,
I have to get these
what?
things out when they're on the top of my head.
You got the Darrent.
The
The
Darrent. Yeah.
line. So dude, what about your friend here that was trying to summon a demon and he had a problem afterwards?
Oh, Rich.
You want to
Rich
talk about
Sterling.
that on the Black Budget show or what?
Absolutely, we could talk about it.
let's-
So,
let's
Rich
remember-
Giordano did a series of 126 Ouija board sessions trying to invoke the devil to prove that the devil was real. And what happened to Rich proved that the devil was real. But we can talk about that.
Was it in
know.
Georgia?
And I remember listening to Rich on the AZ UFO show 10 years ago.
Really?
Yeah,
The
it's
AZ
not in
UFO show?
Georgia.
Yeah, like, right? The AZ UFO show, I think. Yeah, it was pretty raunchy. Yeah, it was
that
like
was his first show.
probably 12 years ago now. I'm not sure if it was 10 or 12 years ago, but yeah,
Wow.
back before really, just at the start of podcasting. Really, I think those guys were putting stuff out in podcast format a long time ago.
I bet you it was
he
more
was
than
no-
10 years.
Yeah,
I bet you it was like
that was like the blog when
18
the
years.
Blog Talk Radio had a lot of stuff, but then they started publishing that through podcasting.
fucking blog talk.
So are you did magic getting into magic push you towards your shows, or is there a correlation there between like this being your path and then you learning about your higher self and all that, and then wanting to talk about it, or?
That's exactly right, man. You nailed it. The things that happened to me in the astral realm, when I realized that magic was real, then I started kind of tying the alien thing together, like Darren was asking about, like, what's this about? So I ended up with more questions than I had answers. And I could talk about it to people, but I wasn't getting answers. So I started a podcast and just started talking to people I never thought would talk to me.
Right.
And I was like, wow. So I kind of took it to the next level, the live radio thing. And I'm learning. I learned so much from so many people, man. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm sure you guys can relate.
Yeah, it's like a personalized learning tool or learning journey or something, like just being able to just go with the flow, have these people on that you're interested in constantly, and then just talking to them, and then yet recording it and putting it out for consumption. It's
real.
weird. Yeah, I would have never thought that we'd be doing this. And same
We could
as,
stop.
Yeah, same as you. Huh. Why are you anxious to stop? We don't have anybody. Is
I mean,
the
the whole
advertisers
show.
knocking at your door? Like time for an ad break, or?
Well, no, we have to fit in the other show before
Yeah, no,
Joe's show
I'm just
starts.
kidding. No, we gotta move on.
We do.
All right, Joe.
All good things.
Thanks
must come
for
to an
sharing
end.
that with everybody. That was an awesome chat. I absolutely loved it.
Graham will link to
I'm
everything in the show notes.
super excited. I get inspired after these awesome conversations about magic and stuff. And
Yeah,
have it.
anytime you want to talk more about it, I'm going to send you guys some books too, and then your questions are really going to start opening up.
oh
I
yeah,
bet.
that's awesome.
Let's just not go straight to the 3,000 pagers.
Okay,
Baby steps.
I got you. I'll give you the notes.
Perfect. The introduction.
Those are the bad ones, Darren. 3,000-page ones are the bad ones.
Big thanks to Joe Roop for coming on the show. Do check out his radio program, internet radio. Graham will link to all of that in the show notes. We were on it just a few weeks ago too, like
Yeah.
a week and a
that
half
was
ago.
fun. Yeah, thanks for having us on, Joe.
Joe's always hanging out in the
love it.
chats. So check out grimerica.ca/chats. Anything else? Check out
Don't forget
Grimerica.
to support.
Oh, yeah.
Support.
Check out
Support.
grimerica.ca/support today. If you can, sign up for a monthly there. There's like 30 different options between monthlies and weeklies and yearlies. Or you can go to Patreon if you want to do that and become a patron. If you watch the live show now, for any of you fuckers watching the live show, the super chat is finally enabled after 3 months. YouTube
Super
finally
chat.
approved us.
Nice.
So you can donate right through YouTube,
Well, we
I
better
guess.
start pushing the live show a little bit better then.
Yeah, we're going to have
probably
to.
get
Well, now
better
that you
at
can
that.
get paid, now you're excited.
Just that would help.
Black
It'd
magic-
help. It'd help
black magic
keep the
done
studio
that.
going. All the fucking broken chords and stuff. Plus the black.
That
If you
fucking
want to
shit
hear
to
the
clean
rest
the
of,
chords was like fucking $60.
don't swear. You get kicked off the YouTube super
Fuck 'em.
chat.
Fucking kick me off, I dare you.
So if you want to hear this too, any kind of donation at all, any one-time donation, or even just an email to us saying that you can't afford it, will get you access to the black budget, where Joe will talk more about awesome shit. So
That's right. Grimerica.ca/support. And everything else is in the show notes. There's a bunch of stuff, ways to support the show. That if you're going to email Graham and say you can't afford it, make sure you do those stuff first. Review. rate, share.
yeah, exactly. Just
Yeah.
review it even. That's fair enough.
Other than that, thanks for listening, guys.
You're not going to get access if you do a 1-star.
No.
Maybe.
Graham will just become like.
Depends on the feedback.
Graham will just fucking befriend you until he can convince you to change that 1-star into a 5-star. Anyway,
That
Thank-
happened unintentionally, dude. I didn't
Couple
fucking
times.
force it.
doesn't happen more than once.
Yeah, but I didn't intend that to happen at all. I was completely Organic.
Was it?
Yeah.
You're a weird little man. All right, guys. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next week. Pow. If you're in the live chat, stick around. We're just going to go, we're going to go audio silent here for like 5-10 minutes and
Are
cue
we?
up the Black Budget show.
Okay.
Ciao for now.
All right. I'm going to take a pee.
The Grimerica Congress is now in session. Welcome, congressmen and congresswomen. You have been invited to the special sitting of this Congress because of your donations to one of the greatest podcasts in the land, the Grimerica Podcast. And now I invite you to please take your seats as we welcome our chairpersons, Mr. Darren Grimes and Mr. Graham Dunlop. And welcome to
the Grimerica Black Budget Support Feed.
Come in studio. The black budget has now been approved by Congress. The black budget has now been approved by Congress. Roger that. The recording will begin in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to the show, sir. Black Budget Sal.
You talking to me?
I am talking to you. Who cares about Graham?
This is so cool, man. Like, I just got to say thank you guys for letting me come on this show. To me, this is like being on freaking Joe Rogan. Like, I don't care. I've been on Grimerica. I'm done. I don't have to be a guest on anybody else's show. I've made it. That's the way I feel about it.
Oh, thanks, Joe.
Thanks, buddy. You should still try and get on Rogan, though.
Yeah, right. Well, I know today Rogan had Duncan Trussell on, which is a huge sigh of relief for me. I thought that he had kind of nixed all those subjects they used to talk about, but now it's good to see he's back on there.
Oh, I wonder how that went. Did you listen to it at all? Did Duncan challenge him on anything?
Oh yeah,
really?
No, they were doing the devil's advocate idea type thing, going back and forth, and I can't wait to hear it. So, yeah, it's
all right. I'll probably give it a shot. I'm getting very disappointed in the JRE.
He has been disappointed.
Your experience isn't as Joe Rogan as you'd hoped. Your Joe Rogan experience.
That's right.
What we're talking about, if I actually went on his show, he would look at me like I was a moron, give me that look that he gives people that he think are stupid, and just grill me to death. And he would probably win, because I don't see too many people winning arguments with that guy.
Yeah, exactly.
You just got to punch him.
He kind of bullies him. That wouldn't work either, yeah.
No. He's the total alpha male, man. That's him now.
Yeah, he bullies people that don't like that. Candace Owens on climate change, he kind of bullied her there. Kind of bugs me.
Is it?
That turns me off completely because he just didn't even. He forgot all the stuff that he's learned that she can't articulate. That she's learned that others. Listen. Yeah, you don't want to listen. Okay. You'll shut her down.
Let's worry about our friend Joe, who came here to. He doesn't have a lot of time, and he's going to take us through some. What are we going to go through here? We're going to go through a quick version of some rituals.
Well, I'll just take you through the grades pretty much. I made some notes for this black. So, the first thing that you do is a neophyte grade, and this is in masonry too. You kind of get this in all Western systems. You get the old blindfold, and you walk into the room, and the rituals that you've studied, because everybody goes, "Oh man, I don't know what's going to happen," right? So they get online and they try to read the rituals because there's what's up.
I just want to say this is building upon people are going to be listening to this. We're going to have to put this out after the free app comes out. Not the free app, but the normal feed comes out probably. We should see now you're already people can't come in and listen to this and then
they can do whatever they want. I'm not going to try and tell people what to do.
Just add a little context for them, Graham, and then
give us a little context.
Okay, so there's another episode in our normal feed coming out where Joe explains the overall sort of magical world and all that, and now we're getting into the nitty-gritty.
I think this will be a standalone. This was a good standalone until you interjected.
No. It's all good.
You fixed it.
We need some context.
You brought the train back on the tracks right at the end.
All right. Okay, Joe. Thanks. So you walk in blindfolded.
Yeah, so you go in blindfolded. This is my favorite part about you guys' show, by the way. Listening to it. Darren's got this idea of everything, and Graham's always jacking it up, or vice versa.
Yeah, or vice versa.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Uh,
And then we
But-
let each other go free.
yeah. So, well, all the systems have this initiation ritual. Masonry, the Golden Dawn, all of them. And you're always blindfolded and you always get brought into a room. And the ritual that you've studied online, I can tell you, is pretty much, or whatever book you've read about the neophyte ritual and what the temple is going to look like and all that stuff, it's pretty accurate. The only difference is you're going to learn some handshakes and passwords and some things that you can't reveal to people. And that's it. And I wish I could tell you guys that, but I'm not an oath breaker.
Are the handshakes magic, or that's just so you know who's cool?
Kind of both,
Son.
right? So if
I
somebody
was going
comes,
to ask that too.
Wow.
so if somebody comes and says that they're a part of, because we've got people in a part of our order all over the world, France, United States, New Zealand, Africa, all over. So if, just like in Masonry or whatever system it is, if somebody comes and says, hey, I'm your brother, your sister, I'm a part of this order, there's a way to test them, right?
Jeez.
We need a Grimerica thing.
Let's just join his.
All right, we're in.
So you do the ritual, and all these rituals are in the books. You know, they're all online. There's nothing super special about it. No, they're like in Masonry, because I've done both Masonry and magical rituals, right? So there's no sacrifices of goats or, you know, some virgin waiting on an altar or anything like that, you know. Now, I will say that Crowley's system I've never taken, but I've read about it. Now, Crowley actually, in his Golden Dawn system, which is called the AA, he kind of puts you to the test, actually, in those. It's kind of hairy a few times, but the traditional system in the neophyte, you're pretty much introduced to all the symbols, you know, the manner of the East and West and what they represent, and you know, all the quaternary stuff you learned about. It's really a whole lot of stuff that don't make sense to you. So you're doing most of the ritual you're doing blindfolded, which is kind of weird. But the neophyte, like I said earlier, is that you're learning how to project your energy. You're learning how to use your energy through pentagrams and hexagrams, and how to charge them magically and be able to move energy. You also learn the sign of silence to protect from bad energy, to block bad energy and bad things from flowing through your pentagrams.
So I've always had a fucking fascination with drawing pentagrams. Is that bad?
No, it's not bad. There's
Okay.
probably a deeper reason that you're doing
Do you
that.
have one on your tattoo right now? Do you have a
No, I
pentagram
wouldn't get a
tattoo?
pentagram tattooed on me.
You got a lot of weird tattoos on there.
Yeah.
The pentagram is actually the symbol of Mars. You know, it's like it represents
What
Mars.
about this? Is this anything magic?
I can't see it. Let me see.
Well, everything is magic, Darren.
I can't tell what that is, brother.
Well, you sit back on your normal camera there, and
He can't
Brody
see
can
that
pop.
one. Oh,
Brody can pop
Switch it
up
to that.
the switch.
you can do that on Zoom?
Looks like wow, that's pretty weird.
Is it a swastika?
No,
Holy fuck. Wrong arm.
Number 8 with a cross on top and a dot
in the
bottom
middle, yeah.
circle.
I'm
I'm
sure
sure it's magical.
all
then.
symbols are magical, right? To a certain point, aren't they? I mean,
Did you show
Yeah,
him? Can
but-
I take my arm down?
I can't put that in there.
Huh.
Because we're
God. So I just held my arm there for fucking no reason at all?
no, the cat enjoyed it.
Yeah, you did.
Huh.
so you
But
mentioned
essentially, we're breaking ourselves apart into separate elemental regions through analytical, magical techniques that gives you the opportunity to evolve the things that need to be changed in your nature spiritually, right? So they call the Earth grade a Zelator, and Wicca they just call it, you know, Earth or whatever. But you learn how to use pentagrams and hexagrams, right? So you learn the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram, the invoke. You know, you learn. Some people just call it the lesser ritual of the pentagram, and then you learn the ritual of the hexagram. So you learn to block energy with it, and you learn to invoke energy with it as well, right? And now what happens is these magical symbols, which everybody knows what a pentagram is. It's a star. it holds such power in the astral realms and in the psyche that it actually works. Do you guys ever wonder why our military made a building that looks like the middle of a pentagram that represents Mars in war called the Pentagon?
Because it's got 5 sides.
Because it's a magical sign for it's a magical sigil. They're using that, right?
Really?
So somebody who designed that and made that building understood the magical aspects of the sign itself.
So what do you think that how's that work? What does that make it more secure, or
You know, you were talking about the
Not to
placebo
flying
effect,
planes.
right? You were talking about how does the placebo effect work? How can somebody who's so sick in their
was I
body,
talking about the fucking placebo effect here?
Yeah, you brought it up earlier. You did.
Hey, you said
You
that
didn't
was
really
like
get
a,
into it.
a cure for the incubus and succubus. Just pop people
Oh,
in
right.
pill.
Sorry. Yeah. I had a deeper discussion on placebos earlier today.
Oh, that's why. Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah, so how does that work, right? How can someone who's so sick from withdrawals, when a doctor says, yeah, here's your heroin pills, these are the same thing, and they really believe it is, take it in, and they don't go through withdrawals, how does that work, right?
That's crazy.
It is, but it's magic.
And you have to do double ones now. You have to do double ones so that the doctor's intention doesn't fuck it up. But there's nothing there. Don't worry about that. That's just
Double blind.
That's just the placebo effect.
So the pharmacist is giving you a placebo just with the doctor not knowing.
Exactly, because it's the only way they can get a fucking actual proper result. And, you know, we've got a percentage of people that just accidentally cure themselves just by thinking about it without any intention at all other than thinking that they took a pill. So when you start thinking of what you could do with a little intention.
Right, and then if you understand that some of these symbols actually affect that same place that the placebo does, and a lot of them are geometrical, like the pentagon, the hexagram, the circle. These things are understood in the mind, or like in hermetics, everything is the mind. So imagine there's this great big mind that down the tree of life, eventually it makes a physical reality, but its laws and everything are based on this big mind, right? Now, that's what we're doing when we're drawing a pentagram. We're not actually drawing it on the earth, but we are drawing it on the astral realm, and it affects that realm. It comes back down and affects us, right? So our temple, we're really changing who we are. But the funny thing about it is it affects everything else. You know?
And then so black magic, there's got to be what I was talking about today was the nocebo, and the opposite of that is, you know, people making themselves sick, but with bottled up.
Oh, okay.
You know,
I missed that.
There's got to be.
No,
I didn't talk about it
was
here.
earlier on. It was where? Who was that?
Offline. I can't remember.
You can't remember. Was it at work?
Yeah, it was at work. Someone at work.
So the first thing you got to do is you understand that ceremonial magic is used to stimulate the senses, to power up the emotions through rituals, symbol, colors, incense, sound, drama. In fact, the more dramatic you do the ritual and the more crazy you do it, the more powerful it is that it affects. This is why if you ever heard of Aleister Crowley audios, man, they sound really creepy when he's doing the Enochian calls. It sounds like, God, if I heard this out somewhere in the woods, I'd take off running. It's so freaky. But he understood, you know, the art form of drama and play and ritual and how it affects the psyche and how it taps into that realm and then in turn affects him, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. So, oh man, there's so much to go over there. So you mentioned that the initiation through Crowley's thing was was quite a test. Like he would test you. Can you get into that then?
Well, I've never been through the AA, but what I've heard from
what you've heard,
Duquette or the OTO is these rituals, they actually put you to the test. And so Crowley likes to test your fear. He wants to see what state of fear you're in, because fear is a fetter that binds. Fear is the enemy to a magician, right? So, and you get tested, man. Like you don't just get tested like, oh man, you know, that was close, almost got hit by a car. You get tested by things that you thought you would never see in the astral realm, dreams, events in your life. You're forced to face these fears, and how you deal with that fear is how you progress. And it's very rewarding, but it's very, very, very hard, you know?
Well, there's even the fear that it seems to me like one of the keys to being able to do that successfully would be a little fear, like the fear of just that we would have, like, or I would have this innate fear of like
being tall,
dancing, or of being looked at a certain way, like how am I supposed to, almost like a shame of, like, let's say fucking singing karaoke or singing in public or dancing, or what people think of you. Like there's a fear of just putting yourself out there. And if you need to be in the zone for that, and being like using all your emotion and all your,
you gotta psych yourself up.
yeah, you know what I mean? Like that's the
Yeah,
fear
it
that
is.
would hold you back. Like even just that fear of thinking somebody might be watching you, or you might be doing something and somebody might question you, or all those
That's
little
the
fucking
personal
fears
growth.
that
Yeah,
we grow up with, that like not
You'll
wanting to
get
get
that.
on stage and fucking sing. And like that guy talked about the Bono, right? Going into that fear and just that's the real key to growth. So I mean, even doing that
Well,
would be a
in the neophyte ritual, one of the things you'll hear one of the officers say to you is fear is failure and the forerunner of failure. So you have to understand that it's what it really is and how it's controlling you in a lot of different ways. So that, like I said, the object of ceremonial magic is to stimulate the senses, to power up the emotions, and to firmly conceptualize the purpose of the operation, which is to create a transcending experience to unite your personality with your higher self through ritual symbols, clothing, colors, incense, sound, drama, invocations,
Symbols.
sacraments,
yeah.
all that stuff. And everything taps into this for you to come together with your higher self. So when Crowley went to that island and everybody's like, oh, he went out there to evoke demons and all this stuff, he went to that island because he thought he was ready to do the Abramelin and the Mage ritual, which is the ritual where you actually do come together with your divine and higher self. But from what I hear, it failed, and it failed tremendously.
Wow.
And anybody can look at that ritual. You want to know the ritual Crowley did? Find a book called Abramelin and the Mage. There it is.
And why did it fail tremendously? Like, did something happen that shouldn't have
Could be.
happened, or?
It could be. It could be he wasn't ready. It could be he didn't deal with one of his elements properly. It kind of forces you to deal with that, because at the end of all the elemental grades that you go through, there's a grade called Portal, where if you left any bullcrap that you forgot to deal with or got through somehow, you're forced to deal with all of it at once, all over again. So it's like a wash,
Yeah.
So you're pretty much just washing your psyche and yourself and all your bullcrap to get ready to come together with this higher self is what you're doing.
Can you
It's
talk?
got nothing to do with demons and hexes and curses and lighting candles. And
Well, like
making-
like the
you know.
pop culture aspect of the pentagram is pretty off, right?
yeah, they don't understand the divine nature of the symbol itself to begin with, or what it really means. It's not evil. Matter of fact, it's all over the United States. You can see our forefathers were Masons. They put it everywhere.
Huh. So can
The
we
more
get it?
you know.
Let's get into more of the nitty gritty about your rituals and practice. Then that sort of black budget esque.
Yeah, we're gonna sidebar ourselves right out of time.
Well, I'll go through the grades step by step, okay? And I can't, the rituals, it would take me forever to go through the rituals, but basically there is a temple that the Golden Dawn temple is supposed to look like. It has representations of everything. The tree of life, the officers represent the veil of Paraketh on the tree. So there's plenty of actual material out there about the temple itself, right? So as a ceremonial magician, eventually you're going to make your own temple to work in. Now, you can't let anybody see it, but that's your space. So you're talking about how you're worried about seeing you. This place, nobody's going to see you. This is your sacred place, unless your kid happens to walk in and you're dressed up in a black robe doing
Don't let
something
me know
crazy.
where it is. I'll have you on,
Yeah.
I'll have you live streamed, Gramcam.
Is it
There's
a
Golden Dawn.
physical temple, or mental, or just on paper, or what? Like,
Well, if you gotta hide
Well,
from
some-
people, it's gotta be physical.
you could
Yeah,
be
if
in
you
a
can make
mental
your own temple, that's even better. Some people just make altars because they only have like this little space.
Yeah, yeah.
And so they'll create this altar to look like a Golden Dawn temple, and they'll kind of do it at vision. They'll use their,
Okay.
you know.
Yeah.
But,
That's kind of. Yeah. Thanks.
different grades offer different challenges. So you have to keep pushing forward through it. And it takes years to go through this, right? So once you become an advanced neophyte and you're ready to start going through the grades, you should be able to project and block energies easily, very easily, and have a better sphere of sensation. You should be able to feel energy now instead of, because I talked to you about this on the show. Remember me
Yep.
telling you I was kind of BSing a little bit, but I want to be able to feel energy.
Yep.
So that's like
Right.
almost like empathic. You know,
It can be. Yeah, you start feeling those subtle forces and things of that nature. So that when you work with invocation, when you work with pentagrams, hexagrams, or you're invoking things or evoking things, for the grades to come, you can do it safely and it's contained energetically, right? And then, like I said, essentially you're just breaking yourself apart into separate elemental regions, so you're forced to deal with these things. So then you have the Earth grade, which is like the first grade. It's called Juniorus or Zelator. It's Malkuth, pretty much on the Tree of Life, which is the bottom sphere. And once you get done with this, you're going to make your actual pentacle. You've seen that on the tarot card, right? You're going to make your own pinnacle once you've mastered it. And you should have a stronger material foundation. Your health should be good. Financially, you should be where you're at. I'm not saying be rich, but have a better financial life, right? And you should be cleared away of any distractions and clutter that prevents you from proceeding to deal with the stuff, because it gets harder as you go along, right? So you don't want to be like dealing with your psyche and all that crazy bullshit you got up there. Excuse me, YouTube, I'm sorry. All that crazy stuff up there, right? While you still got to worry about paying your water bill.
Yeah.
Or something else. You want to get that foundation. And the cool thing about the Earth grade is it will force you to deal with the things you need to deal with to get there. Right? If you're doing it right, the Earth and everything in your life kind of starts happening to make you deal with these things.
So there's an order. The Earth is where you start for a reason.
Yeah, Earth. Yeah, and the
almost like your root chakra in a way.
In the Eastern system, it's the root chakra.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. And then the next one you deal with is air. Now some Rosicrucian societies do this different, but on the tree that's called Theoricus, it's called the 2=9 grade. But you start to become aware of the repressed parts of your psyche. Strife is kind of one of the keywords related to air. There's a lot of stuff that'll rise up because of that. It's, you begin to work with what's called the Ruach in Kabbalah, which it will continue pretty much throughout your entire work. You're going to have to deal with this as you're going through the grades, all the way up till 7=4. But the planets that you work with and the forces you work with are the moon, Saturn, and it's the path of Tau on the Tree of Life. So you do these rituals, you're working with these forces, and these things happen in your life. And now you're forced to deal with that. And once it's mastered, or once you've beat it, I guess you could say, then you progress. And so you get tested too. Your knowledge gets tested, your ritual gets tested. And I guess, only really you and whoever's helping you, your tutor, your instructor, your hierophant, know if you're ready to go on. Now, there's a lot of people, just like Taekwondo, they just go, they go right through the grades, and then they start trying to do all this other crazy work, and then crazy stuff happens in there. That's what's dangerous. That's what I was trying to explain earlier.
Can people do it indirectly as well?
I was just thinking that.
What do you mean?
Advanced
like subconsciously
stages without being conscious of being in any program?
Like when a bunch of stuff's happening in your life kind of thing and you're dealing with it, you mean?
Yeah. And it sets in, because, people on all sorts of different paths of personal growth. Would those count? Can you transfer those credits over to the School of Magic?
Yeah, I would say, if you've rounded out the Earth, your Earth nature and all those things we talked about, and you rounded out your elemental nature or your air nature, your psyche, and those things that we talked about, and you say, well, I got my pinnacle and I got my air sword, I don't want to do Western ceremonial magic anymore. What I will tell you is you probably shouldn't have jumped in it to begin with, because this isn't something that you're just going to be able. You don't want to get all these forces stirred up inside you and then walk away from it. But can you transfer to an Eastern system? Absolutely.
Well, no,
Like,
I
if you-
mean more like transfer from like just the
Subconscious to
school
the
of hard
conscious
knocks
magic,
into the
yeah,
school of
yeah.
magic.
Like your experiences and the shit you're already dealing with. Can you pull that into as a credit? I get that.
Well, yeah, I could say that. But when you deal with that grade, if you've already dealt with all that
You'll
crap,
just get through it faster, I guess,
you're
right?
just going to go through it faster. You're ready. You'll know, you know, this thing lets you know what you're ready to. That's why I love it. It forces things out, lets you know what you have to deal with. And it's crazy. You think that's the magic of it because, right, it forces all these things out. So if you've dealt with your psyche well enough and you're psychologically well and you've dealt with your strife and those forces, you'll know it and you'll progress faster than most.
Sweet.
Everybody progresses at their own rate.
I'm not there. Maybe Graham.
I'll go fast through the first level anyways. And I'll get stuck in the fire. Get stuck in the fire.
You just fucking.
And then there's practicus, right, which is water, and you're dealing with the Hod sphere on the tree of life, Mercury, your emotions.
So wait, we kind of. Did we do? Where does it go? Did we skip one?
No.
Earth, water. No.
Earth, air. Now we're at water.
And then fire.
Did
at the
we
top,
do
so-
air? I didn't think we did air, or I thought we
just
kind of
did air.
skimmed over it. Okay.
Yeah.
No, I just talked about
Okay.
it. It's air. It's the psyche, your strife that you have to deal with.
Because I would have thought that through the chakras, it would have been like earth, fire,
Don't touch yourself.
water,
It's touching himself.
water, air.
It's different in each system, right?
Yeah.
And like I said, some other Rosicrucian orders, like Amorc or whatever, they do it a little different.
Yeah.
This is just
Yeah.
kind of like the Golden Dawn, right? And then Practicus is water, which deals with Hod, the sphere of Hod on the tree of life, which I got the tree of life. But all of you guys have seen the Kabbalistic tree of life,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. We did a show,
So-
a couple shows on it too. Yeah.
Yeah, so magicians use that as the software to navigate the planes and the astral realm, and also it's got correspondences to everything in life, right? So it's like the protocol or the software and the program, right? So you deal with your emotions. You also deal with the path of Raish on the tree of life, but you're also introduced to what's called the Garden of Eden before the fall. So you learn about, you even see that symbol, the Garden of Eden before the fall, and you learn about your innocent nature before you fell. And you kind of learn the process of what happened to you from baby to now, right? And you kind of start dealing with your emotional self. If you have any mother issues, like mommy issues, these are really going to come out. And you can't progress until you deal with all this stuff. If you do progress and you say, well, I'm ready to go to the next level, you're screwing up. Right, because it's gonna force all the stuff back out on you at the portal grade, and then when you're done with that, you make your little magic cup with your symbols, your magic tool. That cup represents you beating that and mastering that. Now it's a tool that you use in the inner orders, right? It's your magic tool, kind of. And I know this sounds kind of nerdy. Sounds like Dungeons and Dragons.
No,
don't it?
this
Fuck
is
yeah, it's awesome.
take it easy. Take it easy.
Right. And then last but not least, you got the Philosophus, which is the grade of fire, which you were once filled with strife, but now it's like super energy. It's the 4=7 grade. If you have any unsolved masculine or daddy issues, these are really going to come out. It's going to force you to deal with this stuff. The paths that you deal with on the tree of life is Koth, Sadi, and Pei. So when you see the tree of life, you saw these balls called Sephiroth, right? Well, the paths between those Sephiroth are important too. And if you want to learn about that, Lon Milo Duquette wrote a book called The Chicken Kabbalah that's great. Dion Fortune wrote a book called The Mystical Kabbalah that's great. Both of these books will teach you how to use these things magically. Right?
Okay.
And then once you master that grade, you're more inclined to speak the truth, right? And yet in a loving and understanding, compassionate way. You're not so judgmental all the time. Before that, your understanding of universal love is better. It takes a lot of maturity to grasp this. This sounds simple, but a lot of us don't really understand this. And then you make your magic wand. So now you've got all 4 tools, and you can read any Golden Dawn book about the symbols on the tools. And then you go through the portal grade, which leads you to become an adept. And that portal grade forces you to deal with all of these things at once. You know, like we're going to wash over all the stuff again and make sure you got it. And then you go into the adept work, and then you start doing the bigger stuff where you start working with angels, more angelic stuff, more. You can even work in the Goetia if you want, right?
The astral
the
realm.
Sephirotic work. Yeah, and you do a lot of astral and inner work too, because now you can go in the astral realm and you can block anything you want to block. You can travel where you want to travel, and you really start to navigate your inner psyche and self and everything else big time. You really get into study. So you would go from like Gandalf the neophyte to Gandalf the Grey, kind of. You see what I mean? Now you're a real magician.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are calling themselves magicians, and they have no idea the work that you got to go through. Because
And
I'm
you're
just
done? Did you do it all?
I can't tell you where I'm at.
What? Just what level?
No.
Like level 3
How about
4? Like,
so? Here's the table.
just say it and do
Here's the
it.
ceiling. You just tell
Here's
me
the
when to
table.
stop.
Yeah, you can stop by right there.
Yeah, it's, yeah,
You're never done.
level 4 sorcerer kind of thing.
Take it
No, I
easy.
ain't at no
Take it
level
easy
4.
with the
I don't
fucking
want to get
Dungeons
into
and
all
Dragons.
that. But look, I'm just briefly touching this stuff. You still have to learn the magical Hebrew language, all of what it does. Like, you got to learn Hebrew. You got to be able to write it.
What?
You got to be able to learn the correspondences of it. You got to learn astrology. You got to learn tarot. There's a lot of material to study.
Yeah.
You know.
So you
It's a
might.
lot of
Do you
hard
just
work.
become our like sensei?
Do you become a sensei?
Do
What do
you
you mean?
become our sensei? If Graham and I
Well-
come,
Hierophant?
if we come
Hierophant?
under you,
If you were in the order that I was in, as I progressed, so do my responsibilities. That's just like any other order, you know. It's just like Freemasonry. They have, in Freemasonry, it's kind of a really washed down form. Most of those guys don't even know what those stuff means in those rituals till way later,
Hmm.
and they start figuring out, oh, that was the Kabbalah.
so you couldn't
talking-
just take us on as students under you, just like on the side. There's like a
If you joined an order, I have no control over who your tutor is.
it just happens. It's all randomized.
Well, not
Well,
Would
really.
it be
no,
someone
they
in
have
Calgary?
No. You send them like so. I belong to the order of the Alpha Omega. I have for years. David Griffin's order, right? And there's a lot of people out there that belong to that order. And this is the first time I ever admitted it, actually, and it's kind of scary. But what'll happen is you'll send in your birth date, and they'll check you out. Like, they'll check out your astrological chart
Ooh.
and all that stuff and
Huh.
read it. So a real good astrologer is going to pick you apart, basically,
Oh,
using
boy.
the Rosicrucian astrology, because it's Rosicrucian magic, and then they're going to assign you a tutor.
Then he just phones you up.
Yeah, it's a lot of internet nowadays that they really use the internet, but we've got temples all over the world.
The chat room.
And then
Chat help.
yeah, we got forums, but we got actual temples all over the world too, just like the OTO does. But Crowley has a system called the AA, which is, if you're more into his work, he's got another system like that. I recommend if somebody's going to do magic through Crowley's system, that they should do that, because the one cool thing about the AA is it's not like Masonry or the Golden Dawn where you have to pay dues every month. It's totally free, but you only work with one person. So you're going to be working with this one person as your tutor the whole time. So you and that person, and that's it. And then as you progress through that, eventually you're going to be responsible for one person too.
Hmm.
And that's the way they do it in Crowley's AA system, which I think is a good system. The only thing that I don't really agree with is I'm not a Thelemite. I don't want to take the law of Thelema or worship Nuit or Iwas or whatever. I want to keep it open.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So we got to talk about, before we go, because we don't have much time, The Ring, The Lord of the Rings, and Rich Giordano's experience there.
Rich
Just-
Giordano. Oh,
yeah.
Rich Giordano. Okay.
Giordano,
So,
captain
yeah,
of the
so
hockey
Rich,
team.
Rich Giordano is a host on my
Giordano.
network, and a buddy of mine who is so, he wants to find answers so bad that he was willing to try to invoke the devil on a Ouija board like 126 times. I mean, he would literally went online.
And was that number there purposefully?
No, that's as many times as he done it until he gave out.
That's just happened to be 126.
Too bad it wasn't 108.
That equals 9
Right.
though, doesn't it? And 126 is 9. That could be something.
all of these weird things started happening to him. Man, he got sick. He started having health issues. He lost all of his teeth. He pretty much had to get brand new teeth.
What?
Yeah, and see, what he don't understand is people think the devil's going to come and beat your door down, set your house on fire, and you're going to see the devil. But what you're invoking is crazy stuff, man. You know, you're invoking these demonic forces that are pretty much going to make your life live in hell. And he had a dream about some guy. I think it's some kind of being.
And this was at the end. This was at the end of it, right? The end.
I think it was beforehand, actually. But he had a dream about some type of shadow being or figure sticking his fingers down Rich's throat, and he said he could feel the guy's salty, nasty finger almost in his stomach, and he woke up gagging and puking. And here just recently, he got one of the worst throat infections he's ever, his blood pressure went up. They had to go to the hospital. I think it was called esophagitis or something. Then he got laryngitis. So I think all these things are happening to him because he was invoking these forces that he didn't need to be messing with. And he is now starting to kind of understand how all that works the more we talk about it, you know. But if you want to listen to his story, it's there on his show. It's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy.
Which show is his again?
His show is called The Paranormal Code.
Okay.
By Rich Giordano.
And I heard that guy way back on the AZ UFO show like a decade ago. I remember listening to those guys. I remember where I was listening to some of those shows.
Where were you?
I was painting a big mansion in West Van.
Huh.
Weird, eh? It's just weird to me that I remember that guy specifically from like 10, 12 years ago. It was probably about 10 years ago. 9.5 years ago.
Yeah, he used to be number one on Blog Talk.
That's probably why. There was a pretty good show.
But he's a no-nonsense kind of shock jock type guy who's just he wants to get to the truth.
Yeah, it's pretty intense. Yeah.
I like intense.
But I just want people to understand what the real ceremonial magic systems like. I'm no expert in this stuff, man. But the more that I see people talking about it, the more I see it in society, the more crap that is out there. I can't bite my tongue anymore.
Yeah, and don't go trying to summon shit like that. Just do it the proper way.
How long do you think it takes on average?
It depends on the person. Crowley progressed through it really fast. It's taken me a really long time because I got a lot of issues, you know, and it just really depends on the person. But it also depends on how fast can you learn, because there's a lot of study. It's a school, really. I mean, there's a lot of stuff you got to study. You got to be able to do the rituals properly. You got to be able to vibrate the names properly. It's a system of protocol. I think Jerry Cthulhu kind of explained this to me. The Golden Dawn is a protocol system, but there's several systems. But what I'm trying to tell you is that the Golden Dawn is the original magical system that started in 1888, and everything else has kind of been branched off of. You know,
they're all dissenters.
And what it's really for. Like, people think it's really for casting spells to get cars and girlfriends and doing all this other stuff. And you can learn to do those things, absolutely. But when you go through the grades, you start to, you make better choices. You know who you really are. You become one with who you really are, you know?
Yeah.
You go from Gandalf the Grey to Gandalf the White. How about that?
Yeah.
The wise.
Like you haven't seen Lord of the Rings, I guess, huh?
I've seen them Lord of the Rings, yeah, once,
really?
a long time ago, yeah.
Did you ever read the books when you were a kid? The Hobbit and
I read The Hobbit, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
School. They made us read it.
Yeah.
That's right.
Kind of boring, isn't it? Everybody wanted me to. I thought you guys thought I was going to come out
They're
and tell
just
you
too
that.
long.
No, it's fantastic. You
Lord
mean
of the
this
Rings
show?
was too long. This show's not boring. Lord of the Rings was boring. It definitely didn't need to be fucking 9 hours. They could have got that down to one movie, maybe two.
No way.
Two.
Could have been more. They could have made it into 6.
This is a difference.
Well, that whole story kind of tells you is showing you the magical process.
I mean, I'm curious about looking into it, to be honest.
Well, if anybody wants to look into it, there's plenty of material out there. Israel Regardie's Golden Dawn. I mean,
what was that about the Ring of Power, though?
I mean, fuck it. Let's force some shit out. Let's see what
this
fucking
is like
boils out.
one of the biggest books he's got, the Golden Dawn, the whole system. by Israel Regardi.
But does that
there's-
come with methods and stuff, or is that just a
yeah.
description?
If you really want to do the whole thing yourself, I would say get that book, The Complete Golden Dawn by Israel Regardi, David Griffin's Ritual Magic Manual, and probably the one by Liam Thomas Christopher. And you won't need nothing else. You can do it on your own. You won't need to join an order. You just won't have that experience, that energetic experience of fellowship of an order. That's the only thing you won't get. But you don't need it to become, you don't need an order to become a magician.
Well, you could just join the order, and then you'd get like a pen pal sort of thing.
Yeah.
Tutor,
Well,
a
you
tutor.
You still have to,
Yeah.
it's more than that, really.
But then do you still need the books, or they would just sort of give you they sort of instruct you on what you need to do on a weekly basis or something like that?
Yeah, you kind of get more instruction for sure.
Darren really wants you to tutor him, I think.
No.
But you don't have to. I mean, like I said, most people they're too good for orders. They don't need anybody telling them what to do, and yada yada yada. And they're going to do their own thing. And once they learn it, they realize how much work it really is. So it's better just to do something different. But I think that there are magicians out there that understand the real initiatory path and how hard it really is. Like I said, I believe Jason Louve's one of those people. But that's because I've taken Jason's courses. I haven't taken Gordon's courses yet. I don't know. From what I've heard about him, he seems very intelligent, though. He seems like he knows his stuff,
Where's your magic at?
It's like,
Right there with mine?
yeah, I've been thinking about doing more basic, just like meditation, rituals, altar, that kind of stuff, but not in any sort of formal way, but just really more of just a standard daily spiritual practice that I just never get around to.
I've
Pretty
been
half-assed.
I've been doing pretty good
I
at
do it like sometimes, a couple times a week, few times a week.
I get my 7-minute
Oh.
workout in about half the time.
Yeah.
If you want to find out if you really have what it takes to do this stuff, there's Israel Regardi has a very cheap book. You can get it on Kindle. It's called The 1 Year Manual by Israel Regardi. And if you can go through what he's having you practice to do there, which is kind of like half the neophyte stuff, really, then if you can do what he's telling you to do in 12 months in that book, then you got what it takes to go through all this stuff. It's not easy. I thought when I started doing it, man, I thought I was just going to learn how to do rituals and I was just going to do them whenever I wanted and maybe get what I want. But when I learned, it was like forcing me to, and I'm just being honest here.
Mhm.
When I learned, it was forcing me to deal with myself and learn so much more about who I really am and all these forces behind all this stuff. Then I realized, okay, I got to make a decision. Am I really going to go through with this or not? Because once you step in, you really can't back out.
So how does it have to do with the ring, like the one ring to rule them all?
Oh,
the
that
Lord of the Rings?
story is you got this little person who's this big, right? And in the psyche, some of us feel that way. And they go through all of these this walk through all these different challenges to get rid of that one thing that has control over them,
Frodo.
which is
Yeah.
power, which is false. That's the evilness, like the control system, and realize who you really are. And that's love. Love is the answer of all things. You look at the Hobbit, man, that represents everything about love. Life, family, food, friends, green grass, all the good little stuff, the cheesy stuff,
Precious.
That's Tiferet. That's the sun.
Gollum? Gollum's Tiferet?
Oh, Gollum is a magical representation in there too.
Gollum.
I
Right on.
don't know
Well,
what else to say, brother.
No, that's great. That's we'll let you jump. We got to let you go because, of course, you got to now go on for another 3 hours.
Nah, tonight's my last night. I'm going to go on for 2 hours, and I'm going to be talking to Tim Doyle. He's a UFO investigator. So,
Oh, right on, buddy. Have a
Nice.
good time. Man.
Yeah, have a great show. Thanks for coming on with us right to the last minute. And yeah, man, send over that info because I think I'll peruse it.
I'll send you the Cliff Notes.
Right on.
Thanks, buddy.
Right on, buddy. Have a good show.
Bye, guys.
Ciao. And big thanks to
Wow.
all
Joe,
our
that was
supporters
awesome.
and Joe. And yeah, this is a thanks to all our supporters. And yeah, thanks for supporting the show. Big thanks to the live people. Thanks for tuning in. I don't know how many of you are there, but thanks.
Like 20 of them.
Bye. Kill it.